Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Sisters of Legacy. We are going to run our intro shortly, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to the Sisters of Legacy. They are building a community through great conversation. They are speaking truth. They are speaking life. It's time to do more. Join us each week. Welcome to the Sisters of Legacy.
All right, guys, we are back. Welcome again, guys, to this week's show. We thank you in advance for your time, for your input, for watching, commenting, supporting, and all of the above. So, ladies, this week, how has everybody's week been going?
Pretty good.
Same old, same old.
Looking forward to Saturday.
Listen, I concur. I'm definitely looking forward to really I'm fine with Friday night. I'm Friday 501. I
Here,
could
let's skip the day part.
yeah, I could be totally fine with Friday at 501. Um I'm definitely looking forward to that. So, ladies, of course, as always, thank you for joining me. Thank you for being on this wonderful ride with me. I'm going to try really hard not to do that. So, introduce yourselves, ladies.
I'm Shanetta.
Katrina, good evening.
Vanessa, hey.
Oh, see, that's what I'm saying. See, she got it. Y'all got it
With the hay.
right. Listen, and the neck. Y'all got to get it. Get it. Oh, oh, look, Mr. Anthony Walker. Hi, Mr. Walker. All
Oh,
right. Oh, you are really ready tonight. Well, I'm glad that somebody is really prepared for this because I feel like whew, I'm just a little bit behind trying to catch up. So tonight, ladies, we are going to talk about it's kind of a continuation from last week. We kind of ended on the note of talking about accountability, and so I want you guys to start by telling me what, from your understanding, from your point of view, what does accountability mean in your own words? And then I'm going to read the definition, or maybe I should read the definition first as soon as I find it. But I want you to kind of tell me what accountability means for you, or what it means, how you perceive it, or whatever.
You want us to do that first, or you want to do the definition
Okay,
first?
so I'll read the definition.
Webster, Wikipedia.
This is Webster's dictionary says the definition of accountability is Lord, I don't got my glasses on. Oh, the obligation or willingness to accept responsibility for one's actions. That is the book definition of accountability. But I would like you guys to tell me, like in your own words, how do you define accountability?
So today, accountability meant something a little different what it normally means to me because accountability is basically just like you said, being responsible and holding yourself to a particular standard to be true to yourself or whatever the situation is. But the day in me being true to me, I had to set a standard that made accountability look a little different because I had to do something that would cause someone else to take responsibility for their particular actions or their own deeds, or I would um, be in this perpetual desert as tumbleweed, just kind of like going along with some things that have been transpiring. So lately, I think for me, accountability is not just necessarily for me. I feel like everybody needs to be held to a particular standard or a particular level of responsibility. So I can't just not do something if that's going to cause you to take that same action, and just, keep going back and forth with foolery, if you will.
Okay. Trina?
Okay, so the 2 3-year-olds were running. I said, "Stop running, guys! Stop running!" Now they're brothers. So one fell, skinned his little hands, falling. He's crying. So I said, "Well, you were running." Miss Trina says, "Stop running." The first thing out his mouth is, "Gaby made me run," his brother. I said, "Wait a minute, wait a minute. You were running." Miss Trina said, "Don't run." But Gaby, he kept saying, "But Gaby." And so I said to him, "You have to be accountable." He just looked at me. But when I said that to him, it just brought me back to like, oh, that's what we're talking about tonight, because here we are. And finally, I tried to get him to understand you made a decision to run on your own. So here we are. But anyway, I think my definition is, what role do I play in my condition or my situation? What role did I play to get here? What role? And recognizing what that is and saying, well, this is the role that I played, and here we are. What am I going to do about it?
Okay. Shanetta?
I love the examples that everybody has given. For me, when I think about accountability, I think about kind of those self-talks. Like I have accountability talks routinely, kind of like Trina, with the students that I work with, because they're at the stage of life where I feel like they really have to get that, because it's just time. It's really just time. So if your parents are not teaching you this yet, like, let's make sure you're getting some of these lessons every day at school. However, I kind of look at accountability when I'm thinking about me, as me fessing up and kind of really being real about where I am, who I am, what I have done, what I have not done. So the definition works well, taking responsibility for my actions, my thoughts, just the way that I am, and not trying to blame anybody else or point the finger at anyone else for what I am a part of and what I am. I think that there's some level of accountability in everything that we kind of address and face, and we have to know how to take responsibility for that without pointing the blame in some other direction. So I think it's like the action of not blaming someone else or something else, but accepting your role or your part in whatever is going on.
Okay. So I definitely agree with everybody's definition. Like that to me though, like those are all, they kind of all go hand in hand, and they just, kind of rolled one into the other. So like from where I say it definitely looks like we have a good understanding of what accountability should look like personally. But I want to ask a question, because Vanessa, I listened to you. You said you were put in a position where you kind of, and correct me if I'm saying this wrong, because it's been a couple of minutes, I might have forgot. So you were saying kind of you had to force somebody else to take accountability. Is that kind of what you said? Okay, so my question, not just to you, but to everybody, is can you make somebody else accountable? Can you make somebody else take, accept accountability? Can you do that?
I feel like you can, from what I heard with what Vanessa was saying, it sounds like she maybe gently or forcefully, I'm not sure which, guided the person into like taking that accountability. And I think that you can kind of lead, it's kind of like you can lead the horse to water. I feel like you can definitely lead someone down the path of accountability through a series of questions. And whether or not they are honest would determine whether or not they actually take the accountability for something. So, like the example that Trina gave with the babies, with the kiddos, if that one kiddo never really understands that you had to make up your mind to actually participate in running, then on that child's level, he's able to understand accountability. My kids did something similar, and it was like a long conversation before they ended up getting in trouble. My son, they were riding their bikes outside, and one of them was like, we were like, you can ride your bikes between this building and that building, and building K was too far. So we came outside and they were down at building K. So called them back. This is the two older ones when they were like 5. So we called them back and was like, hey, like, what are y'all doing? Y'all know you're in trouble, right? So the second oldest one goes, well, I was following Jit. And so I'm like, okay, so what were you doing then? So Jit goes, that's the older one. He says, well, I was following the K. And like he said it with all his heart and all his soul, but nobody wanted to take responsibility for the fact that y'all had went too far on these bikes and mom and dad walked out and caught y'all. But the series of questions is what was leading them. They didn't take accountability, but it's what was leading to that process. And I think that one way, whether and I don't know, Vanessa can kind of say more about her situation if she wants to, but I think that a series of questions can lead you to, you know, forcing someone into accountability. Like sometimes you can paint them into a corner where they don't have a choice, but like, okay, yeah, it was me. I did it. I'm guilty.
Okay. Did you want to elaborate? I don't.
So, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm getting soft in my old age. Like some of the stuff that I be. Anyway, that's gonna be a whole topic. But so in this situation, I had to make a hard decision, and it was hard for me to make that decision because it didn't just affect the person that I needed to tell no to. It affected children. It affected other people. So then I felt bad for putting this back on you, because I'm taking accountability. I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't believe you put me in this situation, and this is the choices that I'm left to make. So I got to tell you no, because you did, you put yourself in a situation. And it was hard for me because even though what happened was clearly totally that person's fault, their own situation, I really didn't have anything to do with it other than attempting to help. So in me helping, I found myself in a situation where I'm like, okay, you know what? I got to draw the line somewhere. And right here is where I say, no, I'm sorry. I can't do this. I can't take the blame and the burden of this situation, even though for me, I felt bad and it was sad. But you did this. I didn't do this. So I'm still like, like on the fence trying to make myself not feel a way about making the right decision. So for me, accountability went like all over the place, because I was like, if I say yes.
Okay. So I'm sure she'll be back in a second. So I guess my second question was, is everyone's level of accountability the same? Like, does accountability look the same for everyone? And what I mean is, I think of it as, like we all have different responsibilities. We're not all the same person. We're not all called to the same thing. life looks different for each and every one of us. Even though we may all be women, like we still have different roles and different paths that we're on. So is the level of responsibility or accountability the same for everyone? Like, should I be trying to, or I don't know. Well, maybe let me see if I can clarify. So, like, I know for me, especially the last couple of years, I've kind of been able to unwrap my mind around this notion because for a long time I was stuck in this space where I felt like my version of accountability or my level of accountability should be the same toward everybody. Like I felt like, if you did something and maybe I did the same thing, I expected you to respond to it or deal with it, at the level that I would. I expected you to have that same level of, okay, I'm sorry, I did it, let's fix it, whatever. And so for a while, a good while, I struggled with that. I expected people to, take a stand 10 toes down or whatever, however you want to say it, on things. And for a while, it was very, very, very frustrating to say the least because I couldn't understand, like, what's so hard about you just doing it? Like, if it was me, and I had to get to a point where I realized that everybody's not me. Everybody doesn't view things the same way that I view it. Like, I feel like your level of accountability is unique to you. Like, however you choose to take accountability, like that's on you. Like I removed some of the frustration from myself by trying to hold other people, to the same standard I hold myself to. Now, don't misunderstand, like if we're in relationship, whether it's friends or whatever, like there's still a standard, that I expect us to operate on. But just like, just random things, sometimes that didn't even have anything to do with me. I expected people to show up in that level that I would, if that makes sense. So is that the norm? Is that what we do to people? Do we try to hold them to our level of accountability?
I like what you said about expecting you out of other people. And I think that that's something that we have to learn not to do, because when we expect people to respond the way we would, that may not be the level of experience that they have. So because that's not their level of experience, they can't take the same type of accountability because of their background and because of their experiences. I may have gotten away with not being accountable for, all of the years of my life. And now you want me to all of a sudden act like I'm supposed to, fess up to all the things I've ever done. No, why would I ever do that? That's not my experience. That's your experience. So it's a little, I think, hard to expect people to behave the way you would. But I do think that it's not unreasonable or that it is very reasonable to teach people that you expect them to be accountable to you. But I think more so that's teaching them that, like, you're not going to tolerate being lied to or being mishandled. So it's kind of showing people how to treat you based on how you respond to their lack of responsibility or lack of accountability. Whether it's personally or professionally or, something else, I think it's important to show up and show people how you take accountability so that you can let them know, like, hey, if this is not what you're willing to do, there may be limits into, like what you're able to gain access to. So if it's professionally and you don't want to take accountability and I am the supervisor of the situation, that might mean, some issues for you with this place of employment. If it's personally and you're not willing to take accountability for what's going on with you, that could mean that this relationship might be limited. So I think that it's important to be open when you have an expectation of something from someone. So I think it goes back to even painting people into corners. And I hate to say it that way because I feel like that's the wrong way to word it. But I feel like a series of questions causes people to see the path that you're kind of taking and where the direction that something may be going. When you ask questions, it kind of gives clarity. And when I'm seeking clarity, I'm kind of seeking to figure out whether or not this is something that you recognize as something we need to discuss and if there needs to be some accountability for it. I think I associate accountability with honesty, from what I've just talked myself into. And I don't even think I really would have used that word initially when I defined it, but now that I've been talking, I'm like, yeah, I think I associate being accountable with being honest about whatever the situation may be.
Trina?
I think though sometimes when you expect yourself from other people, you have to kind of take a step back and see where you're coming from, where that person is coming from, because sometimes you value things a certain way and the other person doesn't. That doesn't mean that they're bad or whatever. You just value certain things differently. So, for example, if someone is, say you're very into a very healthy lifestyle, and you try to get that person, oh, you need to eat right, exercise, take your vitamins, eat right, and they're just like, yeah, but I want some Chick-fil-A on today, so maybe I'm not gonna eat healthy today.
Right.
And then but you need to be eating healthy, but you're taking it here and they want to be here. Like, if it's not, it's like, should you get upset with them because they're not, or should you just kind of like sit back? I don't want to say mind your business, but almost. It's one thing to give somebody advice and say, I think it's important for you to do A, B, and C. But where do you know what I mean? But on the other hand, if someone is having health issues and they're like, oh man, I keep having all these pains, keep going to the doctor, I'm on these medications, blah, blah, blah. And you're saying, but you keep eating and you're not exercising, but you keep complaining about, then maybe you should take more accountability with what you're doing to get yourself into that health situation.
Right.
So that's where you ask that series of questions. But what are you doing about that? You know what I mean? And it's like somebody asked me, about me being single and was I looking, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, I'm looking, but no, I'm not doing anything about it. So like, don't ask me no more questions. No, I'm not on no dating sites. I'm not doing nothing, and I'm not complaining about it. So nah, I'm not doing nothing about it. Here we are.
Here we are.
I was just about to say, I think I need a t-shirt with that hashtag.
Here we are is kind of like, that's her whatever. Here we are means that's it. Like, nothing else you say after she says here we are, she don't hear that. She's done. She has already ended the conversation. You're still talking, but she has moved on. Internally, she's moved on to the next thing. So that is a side note for anybody. Anytime she says here we are and does this, you got to get the hands too. That's it. We have thoroughly moved on. I think about, like, I'm always talking about social media because it's just everywhere, and people be doing everything all over the everywhere. And as a woman, sometimes for me, like, it's so frustrating to see other women do so much. Like, I get it. There's a time where, you feel, I don't know, extra sexy, or you feel extra pretty, or you feel, hey, maybe a little extra single today. But they take that X to the next level. Like, it's almost like right, there's no accountability. There's no standard. We talked about accountability kind of means, holding yourself, to a standard, having lines that things that you won't cross, things that you won't do. You realize I'm responsible for being this kind of person. And so things, that come outside of that, those are things that I won't do. Those are things I won't engage in. Like that's far over there. I won't go that far. But when I look at some of these things, I wonder, like, are there any barriers? Is there any, draw the line in the sand? Like, do we see that anymore? Last week we talked a little bit about modesty. And I know that modesty generally, kind of pertains to more or less what you're wearing. But what about our conversations? Like, I hear people say the most, not even gonna say interesting, because that would be a word, that would be the wrong word. The trashiest stuff, like, out of their mouth, and it's okay. Like, they don't feel any kind of anything about it. And I just wonder, like, where, like, is accountability even a thing in 2023? Is there any accountability? Is there any too far you won't go? Like, do you see that anywhere in society? I mean, past, let's just say, outside your homes or your circles, do you feel like there's no boundaries?
I definitely don't. It's like, because we're so liberated and so free, and everything is, everybody got a group, everybody got a flag, a poster board that they, let me be, let me be free. I want to do, I want to say, I want to act, I want to whatever. Like, and when I say we, I use that term really loosely, but like, society wise, like, anything goes. Like, there is nothing that's too far, too much. Like, me personally, right? I can watch a movie with foul language in it, hear a comedian use foul language, and I'm gonna laugh and I'm gonna enjoy it. Depending on the company that I'm in, like, if something like that is on and my mom is sitting next to me, it's really not gonna be that funny, and I'm probably gonna turn it off
Right.
and put something else on. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? But if I'm with my friends, and my mother be like, "Oh, that is so disgusting." Meanwhile, like, if I'm with my friends, like, we all gonna be laughing and just enjoying whatever the situation is. But again, that's still me saying, like, okay, this may be okay in this particular setting, but it's not okay in this particular setting. So I said that to also say, like, I'm at work and I have a coworker who's using the F-bomb and anything else. Yeah, no patients are around right now, but still it's a level of professionalism that you have to have. And I'm like, yo, like, real talk, I would never, like, if I had a family member you wouldn't be it. Like, and I said that because, again, I think this kind of goes back to, like, a show that I was on, like, a lot earlier, when we talked about being genuine, you know what I'm saying, and being true to yourself. But still, like, that respect, honesty, accountability, responsibility, like, certain things should have some kind of limit. And I think, like, it's blurred lines. Like, there's no setting where something is said that or done that it's not okay, and everybody is not clutching their pearls and trying to figure out, why did we get here, or how is that okay?
So, let me ask a question, and Vanessa, not to necessarily exclude you from the question, so don't feel some kind of way. You'll understand once I ask. So, ladies, we are mothers of daughters. Vanessa, you have all boys. So, I'm just saying. So, as being a mother of a girl, we all at least have one girl. Like, do you find it? Well, I know you. I guess you guys have already taught your girls at this point. I guess I'm still in the teaching and trying to push and mold and shape stage. Um, did you guys struggle with that? Like, as opposed to what was going on in society outside of your house, were there struggles with trying to teach your daughters accountability and responsibility? And I don't know, this probably is like a curse word these days, but class, like, how to be a classy lady.
I think it's not a struggle that has ended because my daughter is an adult. It's still a thing. Like, we still have conversations about accountability. Um we literally just had one at 4:15 today. She literally, my daughter has a money issue, like, just completely. Like, she has no regard for the value of a dollar whatsoever. I'm sorry, like, the child's just horrible with money. And literally, like, I have a conversation with her almost weekly about the level of spending. That's accountability, and those are conversations I have to have with her. But her growing up, yes, there were definitely conversations, definitely things that it was like, this is how a lady behaves. From the time when she was, probably before she was even one, like, I would take her little legs and cross them and say, sit like a lady, just little things like that, that was just embedded, like, over the years. So, like, when she got 3 and she crossed her little legs, I'm like, oh, look at you sitting like a lady. It was just something that you just kind of taught, you just teach those things. I would tell her, a lady carries her purse and wears her earrings and has her pearls on. Little things that I would just do with her, just to kind of embed things in her, to make sure that she knew how to behave and she knew what the expectations were. Now, did she go off to college and live out all those fabulous dreams that her mother had for her? Absolutely not. I've told y'all the story about how my child decided freshman year, I think it was freshman year, that she was, I'm going to get an extra piercing in my ear. And she went and got like 5-6 piercings in one day. And I'm just like, who raised you? But that's not like, that was just, her, freedom, being who I want to be or whatever. But I think that there's still like an ongoing, because like there's still phases of life that she hasn't reached, and there's still things that I'm learning as an older adult how to be accountable for, right? So there'll still be conversations that I'll have with her that say, well, you know what, you're 30 now, so once you turn 30, it's some things that might be a little different for you. Oh, baby, you're 45 now. Let's have this conversation about what 45 looks like. And it might change the way you move it in life. It might change life for you. So I don't think that the accountability conversations end. One thing that I have learned since my children have journeyed into adulthood / partial adulthood, because you know how I feel about that too, is that the teaching doesn't stop. It doesn't go away. There's still life they haven't experienced, and I'm still mom, and there's still so much to give. So I've given a lot, yes, but I just don't think that there's ever a time in life where you're done, because there are still things that I feel like I need, that I would, want to turn to my mom and say, hey, like, help. So I feel like as a mom, I never want to get to the place where I'm like, I've taught you everything I can teach you. I am so done with you. Go live your life, little bird. Now, I do want to push him out the nest here and there, like, push, just go.
Not little bird.
But but I do think that there are still things that accountability wise, you'll forever be kind of teaching and showing and displaying and modeling.
Okay. Trina?
I agree with Shanetta. I think as a little girl, I was always like just modeling things, and it just kind of comes naturally, like as a woman, who you are and what things you pour into your daughter. Even like as she got older, like teaching her about how, how when you get into that kind of looking at boys, like how boys should treat you, how you should not be chasing, what you should and should not say. You know what I mean? Like, because when they're like 11 and 12, it's like, they don't know. It's like, oh, I like him, so I'm going to say I like him. I'm going to no, that's not what we do. You know what I'm saying? That's not how we approach this situation. So just little things, you just tell them, and it's just like how you model when things come up. That's how you teach them. That's how you model, and how to dress and what to cover and don't have this out and all that kind of stuff. That's how you teach your daughters. Now, when they get older and start going to the club, what they wear is not really, you don't really know what happens at the club. But it's how you teach them to, I don't know. It's like Shanetta said, it's so much of just every day
Mhm.
who you are that you want to impart into your daughter. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. I guess I have a lot of the opposite. Like I know you about to say something. Hold on. I've tried to, like some of my, rough around the edges, sharp corners, like I tried not to let my baby like get that stuff. Like I don't know. I grew up, I think, a little harder than I would have preferred, based on like my circumstances and, hence our prior conversation to the show, which is why I struggle so much with that issue because, I've always had those sharp corners. So like, when it comes to my daughter, I've pushed her to be like, on the softer side.
Mhm.
Like, she get those, big old watery eyes and whatever. But on the flip side, though, she thinks that them tears wash away everything. She think, if she cry, then it has magically washed away anything that happened before the tears. So, like, we're still working on the whole aspect of accountability because accountability don't just mean cry and then it's okay. Um, but I have and daily find myself struggling with her just in terms of, like you said, Trina, what parts to cover. And, I'm like, cover it all up. Like, what did like I'm not understanding what you're trying to show. Like she has this thing, like how you see people and they have like the little dot of makeup or glitter or something like right.
The shimmer.
Yes, why does my daughter call me today on FaceTime? She texts me like, Mom, can you talk? So I said, yes. She calls me, it's after school. So she been looking like this. Girl, why I look at the screen and all I see is this on the side of her eye. I said, what are we doing? Like, we don't you didn't notice this all day? Like it just I don't know, it's a lot. So we're working on the do's and the don'ts and the modesty side. You know how like sometimes less is more, but these girls are some serious work. Go ahead, Vanessa. You wanted to say something.
Well, I was having a conversation a couple days ago with this young man, and I don't remember what I said, but he was like, "Oh, something." He basically made a reference like what I said wasn't ladylike, and I was like, "What? What does that mean exactly?" So I'm listening to you all because I have boys, so I have to have some of these conversations. But growing up, you said my covering it up. Lee made sure everything was
What?
covered with flowers. So,
Like this. Get a turtleneck.
but I mean, I think I do believe that I'm not in certain settings, like I'm just going to be me. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say what I think and what I feel. And sometimes that doesn't always come across. as ladylike because I didn't say it soft and I wasn't, bending to the whim of the way he wanted the conversation to go. So I'm like, okay, well, all of my anatomy definitely states that I am a lady. So
See, it's them slick parts. Them slick parts is the problem. I
yeah,
don't think
I would definitely agree that, I think a lot of times, you want to make sure that they learn all of those things. And that's very important, especially when they're younger, because at the end of the day, like my father used to be like, don't let nobody take you to, on no date to no Wendy's or White Castle or McDonald's, you want somebody who's going to do A, B, C, and D and this, that, and the parameters must be set. And I definitely agree with that. But I think I'm kind of just going, of course, to just push the envelope a little bit, because sometimes as you get older, it's like, we as women have had to break certain stereotypes or what have you to say that where we are is where we have to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can even go on both sides of that and say, like, for me as a single mom, my approach to situations is going to be definitely different than someone else who did not have to take on so much to stand in certain spaces, not to say masculinity, but had to do more. Like, I have to be strong, I have to deal with A, B, C, and D. Not to say that, someone who else who doesn't have that situation doesn't have those same issues and struggles. But then in the same token, I'm able to say, okay, I can and will be the weaker vessel, where you get into these conversations where it's like, where do we make sure that when we're given these definitions and we're teaching these things that, you're still allowed to be a woman, allowed to be feminine in your own right and in your own passage, and still be able to exercise your strength and your ability to be independent and have your own opinion about things.
and this is me personally, I think that lies within the person that you're in covenant with. Because y'all all know, like, I mean, my husband, he speaks his mind and he says what he wants to say and all of that. But, he is definitely more of a passive type person, than I am. And I'm not necessarily, I'm more outspoken. Like, that's putting it nicely. I don't want to say I'm more aggressive, because I don't know, that just sounds aggressive. But I am more of a outspoken, speak up, draw the line in the sand type person. But within the covenant that he and I share, it works. Like, he doesn't try to say, "Oh, you're supposed to be the weaker vessel. So if I'm passive, you're supposed to be passive third." Whatever, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't try to, oh, you need to be softer, you need to cry, you need, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we work it out within our covenant to where we both can be 100% of ourselves and still honor and respect, each other. So I think sometimes, like, some of those things just fall in line with the person that you're in covenant with. And you know how people always say, what's understood don't need to be said. Like, I don't have to, like, when other people say stuff, like, for Anthony, he's just like, yeah, whatever. Like, he don't think about it, because, we understand each other. And, the way that our house or our relationship works, it works for us. So I think, like, some of those things, for you, I'll say, is just like a covenant type thing, but trying to fit into the norm of whatever society says a woman is supposed to be. Girl, listen, by tomorrow we
You
could
don't,
be,
you don't have
It's
nothing.
gonna change.
right. By tomorrow we could be declared dinosaurs, literally, like big green reptiles. I mean, because if you think about it, they've tried to categorize us as everything. So I think sometimes them gender or societal titles and tags. Like that's some things that's like once we come in this house and close this door, once we agree that this is where we're gonna reside, like we have to create our own space. Or at least that's how I think about it.
I think gender, I hate to use the term gender identification or role identifications where people say like, well, because you're a woman, this is what you should come off as, period. I don't think that that's a solid foundation anymore in our society because of the way our communities are built, because of the way we're set up, because of the way our lives are. There may have been a time, I think, in society where we could say this is how women should behave because this is what was expected of women. But I think that as time has progressed and become, I guess, modernized in different ways, and our family makeups are different, our way of life is very different. You can't say that there's a general set of rules that applies only to women. I looked at this thing a while back. It was like rules for teachers, like within like in the 1800s or something like that. And you start to look at the rules, and first of all, what you notice immediately is that a teacher could only be a woman. And then like she had to like be in the house by like 8 p.m. and couldn't be seen out with like men anywhere in the town. And like, so it's like it was a different time, a different standard. And that was like the literal code of ethics for teachers at that time, right? But if you compare that to the current code of ethics, it's completely different because teachers look different in 2023 than what they did in 1823. So like it's a complete difference, right? So I think that in general, I guess like society's standard of what a woman looks like, behaves like, and should be is very vague because there are so many different categories of what womanhood really is, to be very honest, because the four of us sit here, but the four of us have had very different experiences in our womanhood. Yes, we're all mothers, and yes, we're all women, but our experiences have been very different. So what being a wife and a mother looks like for me is different than what being a wife and a mother looks like for Sam, because our wife and mother experiences are different versus what being a mother looks like for any one of us may be different. I have 4 boys and a girl. Trina, I think you have 2 boys and a girl.
It's a boy and a girl.
1 and 1.
Yep.
And Vanessa, how many? You have all boys? And then Sam has 4 boys? Oh, bless you. Bless you, my child. We have 4 boys and 1 girl. So I get like all the boys, and then Sam. So like, I mean, our experiences are different. Our backgrounds are different. So we can't say, oh, this is what womanhood looks like. I'm going to give you my definition. And then I'm going to see if Trina, Vanessa, and Sam measure up to my definition of what womanhood and motherhood looks like. Because no, my definition may be way off target for your life. So I don't feel like it's a fair thing to do or to try to hold somebody to the measuring stick of somebody else, versus when you're training and teaching your children, you're training and teaching them according to your standards. Right. And then we hope that they go into a world that has some sense of moral standards. But what we know is that a lot of people miss the mark, and they're teaching their children to miss the mark too. So we're just kind of out here hoping for the best with these people that we're raising who will be taking care of us when we're in our 80s and 90s.
And I would say that, like, I can't believe I'm about to say this. The whole train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they're old, they will not depart. Like, a lot of things that my mom, I won't say parents because it was really her. She was a lot. But even like growing up, all of the things that I was taught about, what it looked like as a young lady, the places I should go, things I should say, stuff I should wear or should not wear, like when I got like my whole senior year, I was like, oh, I can't wait to leave here and be on my own. Like, I'm tired of having a curfew and you always in my face about something, like my whole entire senior year. And then when I got to college, I was like, this is it. Like this is what I was all, let us free. Like I was like running away to be a part of like a lot of that. Like it was exciting, but I was like, dang, I really was like, going gung ho about this. And so like then I'm like, yeah, I don't really think I'm gonna do that. I don't like that. So like all of those things, like, you get older and you're like, you know what? Wasn't really as bad. Some of that stuff, some of that training was really good things that help us make better decisions as adults, stuff that we can look back on and be glad that, this is what was said and this is what was taught, even if we did stray away, even if we did, try to make our own mark in the world and not become our parents.
Whew. Yeah, that whole make your own mark in the world. I think about that. I look at my kids and I was like, what mark are you little wombats gonna make? Because every day it gets more and more interesting. Like I have just realized, and I could say, like I just said to my husband, maybe like last week, a few days ago, I was like, our daughter is a brat. Like we have spoiled her to the point that she truly is like turning into a brat. Like ask her to do something like that she doesn't normally do. And she, like like life is over. Like, this morning I told her, hey, I think you guys are gonna need to cook dinner once a week. Now, mind you, I've spent years teaching them to cook. Them coming in the kitchen with me. Like I did all the stuff, all the things, all the training, go through the thing, find recipes. Shanetta, you've eaten one of their recipes. Like find recipes, make stuff you like. Let's eat stuff you like. Then all of this. And I told her this morning she would have to cook dinner one night a week. I said nothing special. Nobody's asked you to make a roast and and all of this. Just something basic. You would have thought that I asked her to, I don't know, build a house. She was all, and she yellow, so she all, getting red in the face and like, and I'm talking to her on FaceTime because I'm at work. This before she go to school, like she taking in all this air, and all I could think is, if I was close enough, I would choke you out because you were just acting so ugly. Fast forward, same conversation with my son after school, because I didn't talk to him this morning. I said, hey, you're gonna have to cook dinner once a week. And he was like, oh, okay, started when? Next week? He all in. But little Miss Spoiled, who we created, we did this. And I'm gonna say we. If Anthony Walker tries to tell you it was all me, he's a lie. Because we did this together. Just like we made her together, we made her together. Like she, and I'm like, Lord, where did I go wrong? Like I thought that I was.
Right. You'll be asking that question in 10 years still, probably. Like just encourage it. Just go with it. Yeah. Because I still look and be like, who raised you?
Yeah, it's just it's teen stuff. This is, girl, lean into it. This is it. This is what you're gonna do.
That's your answer to everything. Just lean into it.
Radical acceptance. I think that's the term we learned not too long ago. You gotta accept it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yep. Strangers. Yeah. What did we say? Who are these strangers in our house?
Yes.
The whole teen thing. Like who's living here? Because I don't even.
I literally
think it not strange concerning the teenage trials which are to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. Let's take it straight to the word. Think it not strange. Nothing strange happened unto you. You just had teenagers. That's all it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought when they're little, when you think you teach them all the things, and then you watch them and they do some of the things that you taught them, like she crossing her legs and she, and you're like, yes, I'm doing so good. And then they become teenagers and they empty out the whole bag of what you taught them, and they got now a bag of junk that they bring home, and this is what they're living out of, just the junk.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's all we got for you. Is yep.
Yeah, that's not
Here we are.
that's not very comforting. That's not very comforting. That's not very comforting. Yeah. Y'all are not really helping. I accept it, but not very happy. Y'all supposed to have some gems, some hidden secret powers, some black girl magic. Are you on mute?
Who, me?
Oh, you were just moving your lips. I thought you were
Oh, no,
saying something.
I said that was a gym. Lean into it. The extra grays and balding and blood pressure issues. It's not worth it. Trust me. I tell you, it's not. If I would have leaned in just like maybe with one shoulder a little more, I probably have a whole lot less gray. Pressure would be regular, not always thinking about how I should do a prison ministry from the inside,
Yeah.
We sang for them folks back in the day, but I mean, I'm on the
Oh,
inside.
right. Back in the day.
Yeah, I'm on the inside now. Orange is the new black type,
Listen, so I just want to say this, and I know it's going to sound really bad, and Jesus will forgive me. But back in the day, like you say, we sang in the jails and the the juvies and all of that. But we also went to the nursing homes, and at a very young age, I struggled with older people. Now, if you're older and I know you, I love you. Like I can love older people that I know. It's just the random ones that they just do something to me. And I learned this as a teenager. I knew this about myself a long time ago. And I just want to say today, every day when I go to work, I'm reminded of how I feel about that population of people. And I just think, Lord, maybe you was trying to prepare me back then for now, but yeah, it's rough. It's not really. I'ma pray. Y'all pray for me because honestly, I'm struggling with quite a few things. I can say being a woman is not really being all that is cracked up to me. Don't misunderstand me. I love being a woman, all of it. I love it. But the older I get, it's becoming more. I thought that was it. I done grew up. I became an adult. I done had the kids. I done got married. I did all the woman things. Woman power. I should be straight. But I'm experiencing extra levels of womanhood that I didn't see on the horizon. And maybe that's one of the things we have to talk about, these levels of womanhood. Back in the day, you play video games, you get to the next level, and you're like, yes, I made it. And you itching to get, you just want to go and go and go and finish the game. I thought I had finished the game already. I thought there was no more levels. But
secret doors.
Yeah,
drop.
Can somebody find me an exit?
Like you just fall down.
The booby traps.
Yeah, there are booby traps. I feel like I went to one door and it took me back 7 levels. I don't know, but this is an interesting maze, and I'm sure that I am not the only woman that feels this way. And maybe some of you are having not the struggle that I'm having, but I am internally having a lot going on within my person with this womanhood journey. I wish it was as simple as people make it seem. I could put on a pair of saggy jeans and strap them down, and then magically I'm not a woman. Maybe somebody ought to tell me how that works. Okay, Trina, did you make that face? I'm just saying. Okay, well, you know what, guys, we thank you so much for your support.
Rabbit hole.
Right. See,
how do we get here?
I don't know. See, that's what I'm saying. It just starts spinning. Before I know it, I've spun out of control. But we thank you guys for your support. Like I said, I'm sure there are other women that you're experiencing things that you have never experienced, and not necessarily physically, but just within your person. Like I feel like my members are warring. Okay.
Not warring.
Okay. So we're on it every week on Thursday at 8 o'clock. So we hope that we haven't said something so offensive that my very few members don't return next week. So until next week, stay safe. Ooh.